You're listening to The Ultimate Rewrite, where my mission is to empower women and men alike to start on their healing journey to become the most authentic version of themselves. If you're feeling lost or you're someone who struggles to navigate daily life, you're in the right place, baby. Hey, y'all. Thank you for tuning back in to The Ultimate Rewrite, episode 2. This one is titled Anxiety. It's real, and we're talking about it. We're going to tackle a lot in this episode, specifically those stigmas that other cultures, religions, countries, and generations have about anxiety. We'll talk about how and when I started to struggle with the anxiety in my life, when I started to get panic attacks, what triggered them, and how I've really become a master of my anxiety through adulthood and through figuring out what really worked for me, because anxiety is not one size fits all, folks. We'll also talk about what works for our Instagram audience based off of what you shared with me on my panic attack reel and more. So, first and foremost, when did my anxiety start taking place? So, this all stems back to my identity and figuring out who I am, which, to be completely honest with you, is what I'm doing right now, and I'm 34. So, imagine how lost I was in my early 20s. By the time I got to college, my world was opened up for me and my little protective bubble was popped. I immediately learned about acceptance and humanity on a whole new level, and it truly rocked my world. So much so that I did have a rebel phase. I mean, for crying out loud, I got a tattoo my first week of college that said hot mess. If that doesn't sum up my identity's confusion, I'm not sure what does. But seriously, this is the time where I really was exploring who I was and coming into myself. Another rebel moment. I dated outside of my religion, which was a huge no in my family and in my religion. Literally, my mother's first words to this guy when he entered their home, sorry, mom, was, "If you marry my daughter, will you get married in a church or a synagogue?" Followed up, of course, by, "If you have children with my daughter, are you going to celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah?" You know that melty face emoji? Yeah. So, not to mention this guy in college, not to talk smack, but the abusive. He had a lot of issues, which I know that he's figured out since. But at that time, he took out all of his frustrations physically when he drank on me. And so, yeah, I was quite lost. Now, identity confusion? Couple that with the disloyal, abusive, partying, loving partner who your parents don't approve of, that came with a hell of a lot of anxiety. So, yeah, this is when I became overwhelmed with trying to please this role that I felt like I was supposed to fulfill as wife and mother. If you listen to episode 1, you know what I'm talking about. So, after college and returning home, my panic didn't return until I found my next boyfriend, and then the next one, and the one after that, because the patterns and cycles continued. I leaned into that codependency and the narcissistic patterns because that's what I had learned in my roots and in college. That to keep a man loyal, I had to sacrifice a core part of myself. And eventually, this is toxic in and of itself. I became obsessed with monitoring the man in my life and what he was doing, fearful that I wasn't enough, that he was searching out my love elsewhere. And then it became this obsession, proving that I was good enough, that I was worthy enough to stay loyal to. And then if these needs weren't fulfilled, panic. Then the panic attack started getting full blown when I was 23. So I do want to clarify, because there was a little bit of confusion going on in the reel on Instagram, that panic attacks are not the same as anxiety attacks. They sound the same, they do have similar symptoms, but the difference between them is that an anxiety attack is much longer lived. That could be done in an hour, a day, it could even take weeks. Those are built up and caused by ongoing stressors. That looks like, I don't know, waking up and your heart's already racing and nothing has happened. You've just opened your eyes. This could also be like canceling plans when you're doing nothing. You say you're tired, but you're really just at home binge eating, watching Netflix. Been there. Or replaying conversations in your head for hours in a freeze state. I truly felt in these moments, those anxiety attacks, those day long attacks, I truly felt that something was wrong with me. And I was embarrassed to talk about it because why can't I get out of my head? It's me. I'm in control. Why can't I talk myself down from this? And so these attacks, as you can imagine, lead to the long lasting worry, the distress, muscle tension from being so tight, fatigue because you're just so damn tired from the thoughts running through your head. And then, of course, agitation and restlessness. So for years, I think I lived in a full-blown anxiety attack. At least that's how it felt. Now, panic attacks, those are acute, very severe terror. They're typically short lived, and on average, they do peak within 5 to 10 minutes. They come on very suddenly, unpredictably. A lot of times, they're triggered by something we're not even sure of. Those include intense fear, which leads to that racing heart, to heart palpitations, shortness of breath, chest pain, nausea, headaches, dizziness, feeling detached from reality. And then, of course, worst of all, you feel like you're dying. And this is why it pisses me off. People say, it's all in your head. Hook me up to a monitor while I'm going through this. Hook me up to all the machines. Watch my heart start skipping beats. It's not in my head, it's actually in my body. Sir, thank you for your opinions. So I know with my panic attacks, my reel technically listed all of my symptoms that I have gotten over the years. But the scariest one that I didn't even mention in the reel is the fact that I hold my breath for minutes. You guys, there's actually a part of that video that I did not air because it's just me literally just dead silent. You can't hear anything because I'm not breathing. That is called the freeze response. And that's the same notion of fight or flight. My body thought it was protecting itself, but actually it's making it 100 times worse. And there's true science behind this. I really encourage you to look up your symptoms and look up the science because that one action of me holding my breath sends me into a spiral of other panic attack symptoms, such as the suffocation alarm. And so my body thinks that I need to catch up to breathe because I've held my breath for 2 minutes without realizing it. With that drop of oxygen and increase in CO2 in my blood, it sends this alarm to my face and then it freezes, paralyzes. Imagine crying and breathing so hard that your face freezes. God forbid. Every time I feel like I'm experiencing a stroke. Couple that with the lightheadedness, which is my second pretty severe symptom, I actually feel like I'm dying. Now, because I've had these for 11 years, I can talk myself down and recognize, Hides, you're not dying, honey. But it's really important for you to educate yourself and to educate all those around you because those haters that are looking at us saying anxiety isn't real, it's all in your head. You're just upset, just cry it out. You're so attention seeking. Don't be so dramatic. Okay, next time somebody says that to me, I'm going to challenge them to hold your breath for 60 seconds and then breathe ridiculously fast for the next 60 seconds. And then I would like to see how your pulse is after that. I would like to see if you can feel your face. I would like to see how fast your thoughts are racing. I would like to see, do you feel like you're dying? That would educate them. I digress. Oftentimes, I have found, according to my reel, a lot of people don't even know that they have anxiety. A lot of people were commenting saying, oh, that's what this is? Yeah, babe, address it. Stop shoving it under the rug. It's only going to come up 10 times faster and harder. So, first of all, the brain is an organ, is it not? We treat brain cancer when there's a tumor because it's physical, right? So, why are we so hesitant to treat mental illness? It seems like ADHD and OCD are starting to get more accepted, mostly because we can see that through people on an everyday basis. People tapping a certain amount of times, people picking hairs off of others' clothes, people getting distracted mid sentence, people locking their keys in their car or their house. Guilty. Those we see from people on a regular everyday basis. But panic, a lot of us don't want to show that. A lot of us shove it under the rug. We don't talk about it. But what, just because these illnesses or diseases are coupled with emotions, they're not real? Do you not cry when someone gets cancer? Does that not fuck with your mentality? We treat heart disease, we treat kidney disease, we treat blood disorders, we treat autoimmune disease. So, why so much hesitancy and judgment for illnesses and disorders of the brain? Someone help me make it make sense. So, before I talk about what works for us, for me, for all of Instagram, I just wanted to give you a little heads up that I did post and upload a free Heidi's 5 Minute Panic Reset Toolkit in the link in my socials bios. So, please go to that if you feel like you are in the thick of it and you need something that summarizes this whole podcast and everything that was written in my second reel, post panic attack reel. Go to that. It condenses and summarizes everything. I just want my sweet souls to have some guidance in a pinch, you know? So let's talk about how I can pull myself out of these panic attacks. At age 34, it has taken 11 years for me to feel confident in saying that if I feel a panic attack coming on, I know what I have to do. Physically, the only things that truly help me, there are three. The first is lifting my arms above my head. We'll talk about the science behind that in a moment. Two, I pace. I don't sit down. I don't curl up in the fetal position. I pace. And three, I focus on my breath, which is the hardest part for me. So, why do I lift my arms above my head? First of all, I'm an athlete. I've played sports my entire life. Every time I would run the mile, my coach would tell me, put your arms above your head, let the oxygen flow down, the blood flow down to your core parts of your body. It's going to reset your brain. It actually works for anxiety too. I looked it up. So, turns out that my instinct was right. Lifting your arms above your head opens up your rib cage and it allows for more deeper breaths to be taken. Why pacing? It gets out my anxious energy. The breathing is where it gets tricky. And truly, I can't get to the breathing without convincing my mind that I am safe first. So I have to couple the physicality with it. The physicality comes first, and then comes the mentality of it all, that positive self talk, reassuring that my body is safe. And also that it's okay to feel all the feelings. It's quite fine. But it's also important to remember that panic is a fight or flight response. I'm not sure if you heard me in the reel I released after the panic attack reel. I actually was talking to myself saying, it's okay to cry, but not to panic. It's okay to cry, but not to panic. It's okay to cry, but not to panic. That phrase, or the phrase, I'm allowed to feel, just don't panic. I'm allowed to feel, just don't panic. Because we are allowed to be in our feels. People who have anxiety typically are empaths or people pleasers. We take care of others before we take care of ourselves. And that's what sends us into the freeze state. Something else that helps me a lot is imagining that my best friend is next to me. There are only a couple people that I feel like could truly talk me down from a panic attack. And believe it or not, I was actually going to FaceTime my friend right before I recorded that panic attack video. My childhood best friend of literally 31 years. She knows my ins and outs better than I do. And usually, because they're rare, I do call her, and she almost always picks up and talks me through it. This time, it came on too quickly. I didn't feel comfortable, but I had already had my camera up, and that's why I clicked record. So if my friend is not there to pull me off the edge, I just pretend that her voice is the one that's telling me it's okay to cry but not to panic. It's okay to cry but not to panic. And that gets me through it. And I just take solace in the fact that if my friend were with me, she'd be holding me tight and reassuring me that, baby, there's nothing wrong. Everything's okay. And she'd remind me that I do indeed have a good life. So, combining these components, depending on if my head is throbbing, typically I'll hold my hands on my head, or if my head is not hurting, I'll put both hands on my chest by my heart so that I can feel either my heart beating or my chest rising and falling with each of my breaths. And then come the reminders, it's okay to cry, but not to panic. And you saw that in real time. Sometimes I snap out of it and almost giggle at myself. I try to do something funny. And part of that video that you didn't see, I actually start punching the air. I looked ridiculous, but it was almost like I was getting out some physical frustration. Like, why did I just go into this panic attack? It's 9:30 at night and you were just talking to dad. Chill out, girl. So I wrote down here, some people have asked me, how do you manage to talk yourself down when you are at the height of a panic attack, when you feel like your life is ending? Honey, it took me a whole decade to believe that I could even talk myself down, to become the master of my own mind. And I'm still learning. I'm not perfect. I still have the panic attacks. That shows that I'm imperfect. But I follow in the footsteps of others. I allow myself to be empowered and encouraged by others who have experienced the same thing. One of my new Instagram friends, her name is Steph. She's also taking charge of her life in similar ways that I am. She posted a reel the other day of this teenage boy who was interviewing another teenage boy. And he asked this boy, if someone offered you $10 million today, would you take it? Of course, the kid said, yeah. What would you say? I'd say thank you. Now, if that same person who gave you the $10 million said, okay, you take the $10 million, but you die tomorrow, would you take it? Hell no. Why not? Because I don't want to die. Now, see that right there. Your life is worth more than $10 million. So when you're in a down moment, you need to never forget your self worth and who you are. That type of mentality is what pulls me out, because these are the people that you need to be surrounding yourself with, babes. I said this earlier, but something else that has truly helped me over the years is figuring out the science behind all of this, because it is all scientific. Why is my body reacting this way? Is it actually in my head? Is it chemical? Is it something I'm doing wrong and my symptoms are just reactions? Because guess what? Yeah, sometimes. Is my body lacking in something that I'm not giving it? This is something I kept getting in terms of advice on that panic attack reel. So many people were shouting at me to get my blood work done. So, did you know, and I did a little research for us, that those who suffer with anxiety often have low levels of one, magnesium, two, iron, three, folic acid, which is vitamin B9, and four, vitamin B12. Guess what Heidi's low in? All of them. Now, listen, some of these, if you have a deficiency, sometimes they're genetic, like having low B12. That runs on my mom's side of the family. My grandma was the same way, my mom is the same way, and so are my sister and I. And guess what? You don't have to take supplements for this. You can just adjust your diet. So, to improve your magnesium and folic acid intake, you just have to eat more leafy greens, legumes, seeds, nuts, and whole grains. That's not that hard. To improve your iron, eat more shellfish, fortified cereal, red meats, lentils, beans, pumpkin seeds, and similar for B12. They said for B12, you can also eat more beef, dairy, and eggs. If you're American, put the processed shit down. Hello. So, really, we are in control, y'all. All right, some other little itty bits of advice, some tips and tricks that others gave me on this reel that I did research just to make sure that I'm not feeding you nonsense. The biggest one to pull us out of panic attacks, the initial sensory shock. If you're not sure what the five senses are, everything on your face: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. Okay. So for taste, very sour candy. If you're someone who can't keep candy in the house because you're going to eat it right away, that's me. There's this frozen fruit that's covered in a sour candy coating at Aldi. And I'm pretty sure Aldi is like universal. Get them. I'm telling you. This will stay alive and well in your freezer until you are ready for it. With the sour taste, it immediately triggers your brain to focus on that instead of the panic that's going on inside of your head. Another one that someone suggested is gingin candy. Ginger is supposed to be healing and soothing for your stomach. And also, I think that candy would be a good distractor for your brain. Another one, and this has worked for me in my early days with touch, something cold or icy. Put that on your wrists, the back of your neck, or your entire face. Just dunk it into an ice bath if you have the time to make it. A lot of people said they would run their hands under extremely cold water until their hands almost felt a little numb and the panic was almost sucked out of them. Smells. This was a little rough. Some of you were telling me to smell some illegal substances, and we're not going to promote that. Other healthy choices would be essential oils. One that really could pull you out of the panic is frankincense. Another suggestion, Tiger Balm. That smells pretty delicious and strong and would definitely pull you out of an attack. So would Vicks, if you know what Vicks is. If you know, you know. Sound, I don't feel is very helpful. But if you are somebody that has a vibrant personality and can be pulled out by song or dance, put your favorite bop on and get to jamming. And last but not least, physical touch. This is tough for me because I don't live with anybody. If you live with someone or you have somebody around you, physical touch actually does calm the nervous system and it distracts your brain from the attack that it's going through. Now, listen, if you don't have anyone, you want to do something called the butterfly technique. I'm going to show you real quick. I feel ridiculous, but tapping your shoulder and a physical on your chest. Don't ask me why, I couldn't tell you. There is science behind it, but that could pull you out as well. Don't knock it till you try it. Obviously, if you have prescribed medication, that would be a go to as well. So would deep breathing. Deep breathing for me is breathing in through my nose, out through my mouth. In through my nose, out through my mouth. For 4 counts, 5 counts, depending on how panicked I am. Sometimes the counts don't matter. I'm just trying to get through it. Loads of people were suggesting the game of 5 or variations of it, like 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 person who means something to you. So there were a couple of Instagram users that were like, "You want me to look around and start listing shit when I feel like I'm about to die?" Yeah, that's because the game of 5 is technically meant for anxiety attacks, not panic attacks. For those, you got to go all in with snapping back to reality. Oops, the goal's gravity. Sorry, my millennial took over. One last big one that I don't want to get into too much because I'm about to have like a couple episodes on it is finding the right therapist. Not just finding a therapist, finding the therapist. You guys, it literally took me a decade to find the one for me. And truly, she gives me all that I feel I need to function and thrive because she challenges me in all of the right ways. She's not just like a person that I'm venting to. Those are your friends. She's gentle but forceful at the same time. She instills a love for myself that I didn't even know that I had. On top of helping me look for patterns that I've been repeating toxically, cyclically for 34 years. So when I say that I have looked far and wide for a therapist that aligns with my needs, you guys, she's stationed in South Africa, for crying out loud. We Zoom call with our ridiculous time difference. And she's out of my network for health insurance, but I don't care how much money I pay for her when she is putting so much into me that I didn't even know I had. She's worth every gosh damn penny. So let me make something crystal clear. I want to help you. I want you to grow on these healing journeys, but I am not a therapist. I cannot give you the same knowledge and tools that a professional can. I can give you my experience. On the show, though, I do have plans to bring on a more than qualified therapist for you to join us and give us all of her perspectives on how we can navigate mental health. My purpose for you, my purpose is to show you what it's like in real time for a woman who may seem like she has it all together. Figure out what it is to have it all together, mistakes and all. Because after all, nobody's perfect. That being said, I am going to make it a recurring theme to hold lives on my Instagram. I want to keep building this community, you guys. We got to talk about our mental health, our healing journeys, where we're going, where we're growing, where we're shining, where we're thriving. Because again, without you, there's none of this. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to my second episode of The Ultimate Rewrite. This is H Dubs with You Are signing off. Just remember that you are incredible and you are worthy of all of the happiness that will come your way, so long as you're willing to grow and put in the work. Tune in next week as I delve into how to make better choices in our lives by breaking the pattern of shrinking ourselves and overcoming the invisible pressure to stay small in today's society. Can't wait to see y'all on my socials. Mwah!